Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Scoreboard Keepers. I am your host, the Ref. Once again, I'd like to welcome everybody back to another episode of the Scoreboard Keepers. As you know, we've been following the Nancy Guthrie case, and this case has us so frustrated. I'm sure, like a lot of you guys out there, right? We are frustrated. We make no bones about it. We are frustrated just like everybody else. We don't appreciate people touching people's mothers or their children. That'll make anybody upset or angry, because an elderly woman that's 84 years old that has just that's lived her life to the fullest and probably trying to live her last days, just being happy, watching her children, to have somebody creeping around outside your house 2-3 o'clock in the morning with a gun, ski mask. You don't have anything else better to do than to be hanging around this woman's house as if you needed all that artillery to go in there and to get an 84-year-old woman to do what you wanted her to do. It's pathetic. As you guys know, we've been following this case, breaking it down, giving you eyes and ears from a total different perspective. When I say a total different perspective, I mean something different than you've been hearing from the larger media platforms who just getting out there selling wolf tickets. I don't see them contributing anything to this woman being found. I don't understand. Somebody got to help me understand this. I seen another platform with close to 500,000 views, and not one time did they mention what we have on the board. How? How is that possible? Do people just like to hear people talk, or they want to try and solve the crime? I don't understand. I've been trying to figure this thing out for the last few weeks. But I think that people on the internet, they just want to hear people talk. Well, we're talking directly to the FBI. Okay? And this is FYI. Listen, we believe over here that this lady was taken on Highway 10. We got to get very specific. You got to say what you mean and mean what you say, so everybody out there can be very clear and understand that this woman may need rescue, ASAP. She has a pacemaker. She doesn't have her meds. It's going on 3 weeks. She hasn't been around her family. She could be around strangers, or she could be in need of some type of immediate assistance. So these larger platforms are so negligent. They're so negligent because all they're doing is just reporting things for views. And that's why they have so many views over there. And that's why they always come back with nothing but gossip. How about trying to figure out how these criminals got away with a whole woman in the middle of the night and just vanished into thin air? Is anybody going to hold them accountable for that? Anybody? Are they going to hold them accountable? And not just gossip, but trying to figure out where this lady is? Put yourself in that position. You want somebody trying to find out where you are right now. I don't care if it's just because you just want to go sit in your favorite chair, or you want to get back in your bed, or you want to take a shower. These larger platforms are irresponsible. And they have a lot of people buying into a lot of different nonsense. We're not falling for it over here on the Scoreboard Keepers. Touching people's moms, touching people's children, touching the elderly is off limits over here. We don't care who you are. We don't take to that too kindly. It's such a creep walking outside of her house that time of night. You have to be a special individual to be doing something like that, and comfortably. You were outside her house comfortably. So when we say that you need to hear things from a different perspective, you need to hear it from a position where you don't hear it from the regular mind state or mind frame that you're normally or accustomed to being around. That's the whole purpose of everybody having their own opinion. That's the whole purpose of everybody having their own opinion, so we can get a different view, a different idea, and maybe bring it collectively together and accomplish something. Not just out here reporting on gossip. This woman, we truly believe that, first of all, that the individual that the FBI is looking for has been hiking before. He knows something about a little bit of hiking. He's not a professional, but he's been around trails in Pikachu Park, possibly. He's probably been, in or around that park for some type of festivities. The gloves that he has on probably for the cables when going hiking on those trails, or maybe even biking, or maybe trying to reach the summit of Pikachu Park State Park. As we told you before, that park holds a lot of rock concerts, a lot of festivities. We told you guys that, there's a guy whose face is flying around the internet that was really good friends, or still is really good friends with the sisters, with Nancy Savannah Guthrie's sister's husband or boyfriend, whatever he is to her. He has a friend that they were in a rock group together. We're not saying any names, okay? Everybody over here is innocent. We're not convicting anybody. We're not accusing anybody. We're just going about some things that just don't add up, okay? We believe that Miss Guthrie was taken on I-10 North. I-10 North is so important, ladies and gentlemen. It's so important. This highway is like a ride that you can almost it looks like you can almost fall asleep out there. So what are we doing, FBI? You guys gotta know that if a crime is going to take place in Tucson, more than likely, you don't want to be from Tucson and committing this crime. You want to commit the crime in Tucson, but you want to get out of town. You don't want to be hanging around while authorities are investigating, or they could possibly put up some blockades and stop you from getting to where you want to go. If Nancy Guthrie lives in Catalina Foothills, Tucson, and you want to go up there in that affluent neighborhood, because it is an affluent neighborhood, you have to absolutely fit in. What's one thing that you're not going to do if you travel to Catalina Foothills in Tucson, Arizona? One thing you're not going to do is you're not going to just have a car sitting on the side of the road that don't blend in. Okay? You're not going to do it. You're not going to have a car sitting in the middle of the night in Catalina foothills that does not look like it belongs. You're also not going to be riding around the neighborhood in the middle of the night with your lights on. Why? Because it's a stargazing community. They like to stargaze out there. So having your lights on is a no-no, which is why Miss Guthrie home was so dark, and which is why her home made for the perfect crime to get away from. Because nobody wants to have lights on. So the minute lights comes on out in that area, it should catch everybody's attention. So it could be a dangerous place to be if you're not prepared for what could possibly happen living alone in Catalina foothills, Tucson, Arizona. To the point where a creep could come by your residence and walk around your house undetected and be on your property for over an hour without anybody seeing, hearing, feeling anything from this individual. This is unbelievable. Unbelievable to us over here that nobody's really talking about Highway 10. I'm going to tell you guys the significance of Highway 10 and why it's so important. Because I believe Highway 10 is very, 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 very important to this case. FBI, you guys need to get on this highway. You guys need to get the camera footage. Okay, if you can't get anything coming out of Tucson, you need to go up the road a little bit. You need to go up the road a little bit because I believe that these people are watching from 40 to 50 miles away. Okay? Knowing that it's like a needle in a haystack looking for things that I mean, it's like they're watching from the outside looking in. I believe on my graph right here, if you look to the right, where it says Tucson right here, we know that this is Nancy Guthrie's area. Okay? So if you commit a crime in Tucson and Catalina foothills, the first thing that you would want to do after you commit this crime, after you've been in her house for 50 minutes, we don't know what that was about, but I'm assuming that you were even changing clothes in her house. I believe that you were tying her up. I believe when you came outside, everybody was in a hurry because you wanted to beat the sun coming up. I believe you went out looking different than you came in. I'll tell you what, if they can get footage of you leaving that house, they're going to see a face. Because I believe you blindfolded her in that house. And when she came out going to the car, you came out dressed differently. FBI, listen to what I'm saying. I believe this individual came out of that house without his mask on. Oh, yeah. I bet when he walked out of that house, his entire wardrobe was inside of that backpack. He didn't have a mask on when he left out of there. If they can get that footage, if they can get any footage of that man leaving that house with her, you're going to see an unmasked man. When he got in the vehicle, the getaway vehicle, because we believe that there was more than one person there. There's one guy that went in the house, but there was one probably driving. When he came out of that house, I can assure you they were in a rush to get on that highway, on Highway 10. And if they went on Highway 10, I'm led to believe that they went north. I'm led to believe that they went north. If you look on Highway 10 from Nancy Guthrie's house in Tucson, okay? If you look on there, right? You would be looking at I-10 within maybe 10 minutes. As soon as you hit that highway, you're gone. You're gone. You may not have to stop, not unless you fueled up before you even came down there. You may be running on a full tank of gas, depending on what you're driving. If you have an SUV, you may not have to stop. So it may not be any pit stops in between, but there's always a camera somewhere when you get off of one of those exits, like exit 236. Why is it so important? Because if you hop on Highway 10 from Nancy Guthrie's home and you're heading north on Highway 10, the first exit to get off is 236 at Marana Road. So we said, well, what's the significance of Marana Road and Marana in general? Well, it's because one of the individuals whose face has been flying around the internet happens to be a resident of Marana. Okay? We don't know if that's just coincidence or, by chance or what. But one of the individuals whose name's been flying around the internet, who happens to be friends with Annie Guthrie's boyfriend, okay, or husband, or whatever he is to her. We're not sure, but this gentleman happens to live in Marana. We're not accusing. We're not saying that anybody did anything. We're just saying what's flying around the internet. Okay? That's one exit, which is 25 minutes away from Miss Guthrie's home. 25 minutes. So someone could go to Miss Guthrie's home, do whatever it is, and be off of the road in 25 minutes. As you look down bottom, you see Nancy and you see him. So you could be here in Nancy Guthrie's house, go up 10, and get off at 236, which is right here. This is exit 236, right there. So you go from here, 25 minutes, you be off. Very interesting, right? So, again, we're trying to eliminate people, not including people. We don't want to include anybody. So that happened to just be one eye-opening coincidence or whatever you may want to call it. It's just a little bit of smoke there. Then you have Pikachu State Park, known for having large rock concerts held there, all type of things go on there. People go there for camping. People go there for rock climbing. People go there for hiking. People go there for biking. So apparently there's trails everywhere, except in this case. No pun intended. It's trails everywhere, except in this case. So you more than likely, if you go to Pikachu State Park, you're going to have to get yourself a backpack. You got to get yourself some gloves. And you got to be prepared to do some things that normally go on in the camping life. So as you can see, it must be a very, very, very festive atmosphere when you go out to this place, and people probably stay a few days. So if you notice in the video with the suspect, right? If you notice in the video with the suspect, you would take notice that he looked like he was prepared to go to Pikachu State Park. Doesn't this look like he's ready to go to Pikachu State Park? Take a look. Gloves. Very protective for those cables when you're going out there and going hiking. Backpack, fleece. He's all prepared to go hiking. Bends over, grabs the nature out of the ground. Just a good old hiker. Just a good old guy with some hiking instincts, right? Bends over, grabs that flower, grabs it down and all of that. I mean, interesting. Very interesting. I don't know if you ever watched golfers, but when he goes to get down to get this plant, golfers get down to get their ball like that as well. So it's very interesting. Very interesting. But in any event, I believe that we're looking for a hiker. I also believe that Miss Nancy Guthrie was taken north on I-10. Okay, to her whereabouts, we're not sure of, but let's see if we can put some things together. Here you go. Pikachu hiking trails, some of the famous ones. Okay, these are some of the things that you can do if you attend this park. But they also suggest that you get a few things, like maybe an Ozark Trail backpack. They tell you that you should get some very good gloves. Okay. And if you look down here, you see people that are trying to reach the peak, reach the summit, got their backpacks on. You look down to the bottom right, got their tent. So I would be inclined to say that we're looking for somebody familiar with hiking. That's what I'm willing to say. I'm willing to say that that's what we're looking for. Somebody that knows a little bit about hiking. So if somebody knows a little bit about hiking, this is what takes me a little bit further north on I-10. This would take me further on I-10 because if one wants to hike, one would probably want to go to one of the more popular places in the area, which would be Pikachu State Park. Who wouldn't want to go there? This is where it seems like it's lively. This will be lively to a guy that used to be in what? This will be very lively to a guy who used to be in a rock band. Not saying any names, not mentioning anybody, not accusing anybody of anything. We're just saying what it is. We're just saying what it is. That's all we're doing, simply stating what it is. We think that Pikachu State Park would be very, very, very intriguing to somebody that where you can go and watch a rock concert, we can go and hike a little bit, maybe bike, be able to do a lot of things. Sounds like fun. Sounds like a good place you probably want to take somebody, even a significant other. Okay? So we know that you need things when you go to Pikachu State Park. Okay? And they also recommend that you get some sturdy gloves. because you don't want to be grabbing on cables that's going to rip through your gloves. You want to have on a good pair of gloves. And the suspect at Miss Guthrie's door looked like he had on a good pair of gloves, a very good pair of gloves. So, moving right along, as we got down into the research, we found out that as we looked up this person that's close to Annie Guthrie's boyfriend or husband, that he has a friend. This one friend has a family member in Eloy, Arizona. It seemed like it was the only family member. Okay. We're not going to give any names, but this one known family member's residence of this person whose face is flying around the internet happens to live out in a very, very, very rural area. Very rural. Very rural. Not too far from the two black dots down here, which would be Picacho State Park. Okay? So, I mean, if you were going to visit your relative, you have to drive by Picacho State Park to get there. Take you about 40 to 50 minutes. Take you about 40 to 50 minutes to get there, but you're driving right by Picacho State Park, which probably is a beautiful sight as you're driving by. One that will make you stop and take photos because you can see Picacho State Park from Tucson. You can see the hills of that mountain region from Tucson. So it's probably breathtaking as you're riding by it on your way to Eloy to possibly see a relative. Possibly. So this relative happens to be up in age, elderly. So making a trip to Eloy to see a relative, it wouldn't be out of the question. That would not be out of the question. That would be something that a lot of people would probably look forward to doing, even if it's on some, just to check up, just a daily checkup, just to make sure everybody in there is okay, getting up in age, may need something from the store, may need some grocery shopping. You're living way out there. Nobody's hunting anymore. At that age, I don't think so, but you may need something from the store. So making that kind of run up to Eloy every now and then, it wouldn't be that wouldn't be out of the question. That would not be out of the question. I think somebody would be more than happy to be checking up on somebody that's 60, almost 70 years old, making sure they're gonna be okay out in a rural place like that. Desolate, damn near. And how do I know it's desolate? Because when I looked up this place and I looked across the street, all I saw was I mean, it was nothing for miles, but wide open space. Nothing but wide open space, to the point where if I took you out there and dropped you off, I'm talking about alive and healthy. If I took you out there and dropped you off, it's going to take you a while. If you can make it back, it's going to take you a while to get back to what I would call, quote unquote, civilization. It's going to be a while, because it's like this for miles out there. And this is directly across the street from these people. But behind there, it's like you'd be walking from here, and then it's another section like this, and then there's some trees, then it's another section like this. It's like nothing out there. Nothing out there. Very easy you can get lost just by accident. That takes us back to 10. Highway 10. When you look at Highway 10 and you look at this straight line, the fastest way to any point is a straight line. That's what our math tells us. If you look down here, this is where Annie Guthrie is. If you came down here to do something to Annie Guthrie, you can come out here, get on 10. You can head to the first exit, which would be Marano Road, which is exit 236, or you can continue to Picacho Park. Okay, you can go to Picacho Park, which would be exit 219. That would be exit 219, and that would take you to Picacho main access to the town or the park. Okay, or you can continue to go up. You can continue to go up to Eloy. Okay, you can continue to go up to Eloy, and I think that would be around 240, which would probably be, I think, Twin Peaks Road. Okay, but in any event, you're heading north on 10, and you're running into the first exit, Marano. We know who lives there. You go up to Picacho, we know what's there. You go to Eloy, we know what's there. Okay, and then as you see at the very top, you see Casa Grande in stores. Anybody that's dealing with this park, this Picacho State Park, the fastest way to get your things would be getting on 10, which would take you 20 minutes to get to Casa Grande. As soon as you get into Casa Grande on Florence Boulevard, you see a Walmart on one side of the street, and on the other side of the street, same side, on the other side of the street, down the street a little bit, 8 minutes away, you see a gun shop. 8 minutes away. You could go into Walmart, walk out, walk down the street, and in 8 minutes, you'll be at a gun shop. You can come out of that gun shop, walk back to your car, within minutes, within minutes. I'm talking about within minutes. I'm talking about less than 5 minutes, be right back on Highway 10 South. And within 20 minutes, you'll be back to Eloy. Within 30 minutes, you'll be back to Picacho State Park. Within 40 minutes, you'll be back at Marana Road, exit 236. 20 minutes later, you can be at Catalina Foothills at Nancy Guthrie's house. Ladies and gentlemen, pay attention. FBI, what are we doing? These guys were on 10 because 10 offers the quick getaway. The quick exit 10 offers the quick getaway. What are we doing? You, FBI, you guys have to get out of Tucson and start looking north at these exits. These people got off at exits. If you go to these exits off of 10, guess what? How about this? We know there had to be a van or SUV involved. It couldn't have been a car. Everybody had to have space. Everybody had to have space. They probably had Miss Guthrie in the back, and everybody had to have some space. They're probably speeding out of there a little bit. So if you look and find a car that's speeding a little bit, going a little faster than the rest of you, that's probably them as well. But hopping on Highway 10, they had to get to where they had to get before that sun came up and before they, caught the attention of, maybe a police car or something like that. So I don't expect them to be laying around on Highway 10 for long. Not unless they get to one of those areas where there's just nothing out there. But they're dressed different. They look different. They don't have the same things that the guy is not wearing the same thing that he went into the house with. I would bet anything that he came out of there and changed of clothes. So you got all of this going on up and down this Highway 10. The fastest way to any point is a straight line. It is of the utmost importance that the FBI understand that if you do a crime in Tucson, more than likely you don't want to be hanging around there for long because things might happen if you hang around. You want to get back to where you were comfortable at. Now, in order to get to anywhere in this area, you would think that one would choose Highway 10. Why? Because the cameras on there are really not recording like that. Like they can't go to a place and say, let me see this footage from 2 to 4 in the morning, which is what I'm coming to the understanding of. So what do you have to do? There's not that many exits on Highway 10. You got to actually go to these exits and look at these off-ramp cameras from 2 o'clock in the morning to 4. I'm looking from 2 to 4, even though I got a feeling that by 3:30, they on one of those cameras. By 3:30 a.m., they're on one of those cameras. So I'm saying that Highway 10 North is somewhere that need to be looked at. Why? Because they also have a gas station that's 24 hours between Marano and Eloy and Pikachu. They have a gas station that stays open 24 hours where you can go in and eat. There's a Wendy's in there. There's a Dunkin' in there. And you can also wash your truck. You can wash your truck. So if somebody drove into Nancy Guthrie's driveway and that dust or dirt or even a pebble is in their tires, they may have pulled into this gas station and washed their truck. Ladies and gentlemen, what are we doing? We got to look at the pilot. We got to look at this pilot on Highway 10. What are we doing? Everything is right on 10. This guy was so lazy, he bought the cheapest hat in Walmart. He bought the cheapest gun holster in Walmart. He bought the cheapest backpack in Walmart. The backpack cost $10. So we got to believe that he probably would. I would not doubt that he pulled over and washed the truck. Highway 10 is a hiding place. Highway 10 is a hiding place, ladies and gentlemen. What are we doing? What are we doing? You listen, it's called Love's Travel Stop. It needs to be checked in. It's good for dining. It has amenities. You can do a lot of things at Love's Travel Stop off of Highway 10 North in Arizona. Come on, FBI. This is FYI. These guys got in and got out and started traveling fast. They were in that vehicle after they had her. They were in that vehicle no longer than an hour. They had to get to where they had to go to. They had to get off of the road. And now they're thinking that they got away with it. No, we want to see all exit cameras. Listen, when you get off of those exits on 10, they run into places that have cameras like Wendy's. I saw McDonald's. I saw all type of fast food, Taco Bells. These places have cameras. You can catch these people. You just got to check the exits on Highway 10. starting at 236. When somebody got off of that exit at 236, they ran into a camera somewhere once they got off. And you can't be riding around forever without getting fuel. Come on. Exit, listen, Highway 10, north. Look at the guide. What are we doing? The fastest way to any point is a straight line. We learned that in math class. We learned it in math class. Look at where Nancy Guthrie is. Look at where she is. Where do you think I'm going to come from? Where? Where are you going to come from? Where would I want to come from if I was involved in this? Where would I want to be driving? Do you think I want to take all those side roads? No. I don't want to take all of those side roads. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. Why would I want to take all of those roads? It's 3 o'clock in the morning and we got to get to Tucson. How am I getting to Tucson? There's no way that I'm going to Tucson without taking 10. I'm taking Highway 10, and guess what? I have to get off the exit somewhere. At some point, I have to get off of an exit. Look, there's a Walmart and a gun store on the same road in Casa Grande. I repeat, there's a Walmart and a gun store on the same road, Florence Boulevard in Casa Grande. CG Tactical Firearms is down the street from the Walmart in Casa Grande. There's a family member whose residence is in Eloy, a family member of the guy whose face is flying around the internet that everybody keeps saying, where is he? He has a family member that lives in Eloy. Seems like it's his only family member that lives in Eloy. Eloy is 10-15 minutes from Casa Grande. 10 minutes from Casa Grande. We don't know. We're not accusing anybody. We're just saying what it is. This is a straight line. The family member lives in Elroy, but the guy whose face is flying around the internet, residence is in Marana. Which, if you look, it says 32 minutes away. That's nothing. It's a straight line. I'm not even veering off anywhere. I'm not veering off anywhere. From Marana, as we told y'all, Marana Road, which is exit 236, is the first exit from Nancy Guthrie. It's only one exit between Tucson and Marana Road on Highway 10. Exit 236. I haven't even went anywhere. I went straight down the road. I went straight down the road. FBI. Where FYI. I just went straight down the highway. I went straight down the highway. This is a fastball. This is not a curve ball. This is not a slow pitch like Bugs Bunny. This is a fastball straight down the pike. Casa Grande. It's a Walmart and a gun store on the same road, Florence Boulevard. 10 minutes away, there's a family member of one of the guys that's close to Annie Guthrie's husband, lives in Eloy, Arizona. 32 minutes away, the friend of Annie Guthrie's boyfriend or husband lives in Marana. 20 minutes away, down the road, Nancy Guthrie. We're not saying that anybody did anything. We're just saying that's a pretty straight line. Is there something? I mean, the only way, the fastest way out away from Nancy Guthrie's place is 10, Highway 10. The only reason we brung Marana up in here is because the first exit off of Highway 10 when you leave Nancy Guthrie's place is 236. It's like getting on one of those pikes where you can't get off until you run into one of those exits. Once you get on, you got to stay on. Once you get on, you got to stay on. But once you see that exit, most people would like to get off because they're like, man, we don't know how far we got to go, and we may not be able to get off again. So from Marana to Eloy, you may not be able to get off another exit. You may have to ride a little while. But in the meantime, at that place, the Love Shop, and get some gas. You may want to stop. You may want to stop. You may have to stop and get some fuel at Love's Travel Stop. Okay? FBI, what are we doing? A straight line, the fastest way to any point is a straight line. These gentlemen let me tell you, I believe with every fiber in my body that they went north. Because if you start getting above Casa Grande and all that, you start heading into Phoenix. You start going into Phoenix, there's cameras everywhere. If you go south, right? You go south, you're heading into cameras as well, but you're also leaving to a whole nother area at this point. I don't believe that. I don't believe they came out of Tucson and made a left. I believe they came out of Tucson and made a right. Because if you start going here into these cameras up north into Phoenix, you're going to have problems. And if you turn left, it's a long ride. I don't care. There's rumors out there saying that they took her to Mexico and this, that, there. That's a long ride. You're hitting a camera 100% for sure. Which is why nobody can see them. You know why? Because they stayed in between Tucson and Casa Grande. They're in between here. Picacho Park in the middle. They're in here somewhere. Look at all this desolation in here. See, it's a bunch of nothingness in the middle, and that's where they try to go. But on these exits, if they check every one of these exits going from Tucson all the way up from Tucson to 236 and up, and they look at those places that got cameras, they're going to see these people. They're going to see these people. And the crazy part is that there's no visual of that vehicle at Nancy Guthrie's house, but that vehicle is probably seen everywhere else. You just wouldn't pin it to being at her place because nobody's seen it. How do we know nobody's seen it? Because there was another person outside in the car making sure that they didn't see it. Why would that guy come there by himself, leave his car, not knowing if somebody came by, shined a light in it, took his license plate number? No, there was somebody else sitting in the car waiting, looking around on the walkie-talkie. You know they had walkie-talkies, right? That's why there was no cell phone transmission. They had walkie-talkies. Probably never said each other's names, looking, talking to each other. Yo, you ready? You know, he probably went and changed his clothes in there, got on this walkie-talkie, was like, I'm coming out in a few minutes. Turn the lights out and drive in the driveway. And then here he comes creeping in the driveway, and then they come rushing out of the door, and here she is bleeding. He didn't take time. He didn't turn around to clean that up. He didn't do anything. He kept right on going. Fastest way to any point is a straight line. Eloy to the gun shop and Walmart in Casa Grande takes 28 minutes. So if you were in Eloy and you wanted to go to a Walmart, in 20 minutes you can be there in Casa Grande on Florence Boulevard. Florence Boulevard also has a gun shop 8 minutes away from the Walmart. You could do a lot 8 minutes away. You can go to Casa Grande and it could be a one-stop shop. And you can start and this is right off of 10. You can do your shopping and be right back on the highway. Man, let me tell you something. It got to be a camera up there. It got to be cameras up there. You can go there and do your thing and be on the getting back on the highway is like 60 seconds away from Walmart. So you can go shop, get off, go to the gun store, and then right off of Florence Boulevard, hop right back on 10 and start heading back south, traveling down. You can stop in Eloy, or you can just keep right on going down to Picacho, and then you can go from Picacho to Marano, and then you can go to Marano to Tucson. Easy breezy. You can stop at that Love's travel stop and get some gas, get some fuel. Piece of cake. You're talking about everything is like it's like an hour or less. This is why they're having a hard time trying to find them. But once they do find them, they're going to see them everywhere. Once they do see them, they're going to see them everywhere. Because they're going to have a direction. You need a direction. You need that one needle in the haystack. Eloy to Tucson takes 49 minutes. So you got to think, if they're going to take that ride right there, that's a 50-minute ride. But you can cut that in half and you end up in Marana in 24 minutes. So remember, when somebody said, why was he in that house for 50 minutes? Does that sound like somebody that's going to be driving 2 hours, 3 hours away with the sun coming up? Listen to what I'm saying. The sun's going to be up soon. Am I going 3-4 hours away? No, because I'm comfortable in there because I know where I'm going is only going to take me 20 minutes to get there. So I'm out of sight and I'm out of mind. It's not, you're looking around Tucson, but they actually moved and they went up 10. Unfortunately, on this Highway 10, it's not like some of our major cities that record cars where you can go back and rewind things back and see things. They have more like traffic cameras that like record accidents and stuff like that. This is what I'm under the impression of that I heard. I don't think that they can look on the highway and go back and say, I need that footage from last week. I don't think it records like that on Highway 10. So the best bet is checking the exits. I would want all exits checked. From Tucson to Casa Grande. From Tucson to Casa Grande, it's not that many. You can get a big jump You want to go look at the exits from Tucson to Casa Grande from 2:30. As a matter of fact, you might be able to catch them coming and going. So I would say if they arrived at her house 2 in the morning, they left around 12:30 to 4 in the morning. Let's go from 12:30 to 4 in the morning and see if you see the same vehicle going and coming. 12:30 to 4 in the morning. Because if they got to her house that late, because they could have been, when they arrived at her house, they weren't sitting outside long. They came into her, when they probably came to her house, they wanted to make sure everybody in that neighborhood was asleep so that you wouldn't hear the car or see lights. Because at some point, they had to turn them lights off when they were coming in there. They had to. They had to be riding in the dark for a little bit. So I'm just saying, most people are in bed around 1:30 in the morning. So I'm pretty sure that car and that driver, he may have even been parked somewhere else to where he walked maybe, he might not have went down her road. He may not have went down her road with the car. He may have walked there and then say, listen, on walkie-talkies, can you hear me? All right, I want you to come pick me up at so-and-so at so. That's the communications. That's the means. You don't have to light up a cell phone in the dark. Yeah, we got to get on this, ladies and gentlemen. Come on, what are we doing? The guy got on a $7 to $10 mask from Walmart. $7 to $10 Walmart mask. It's a lot of Walmarts in Tucson. A lot of Walmarts in Tucson. You need to be looking above. You need to be looking at the Walmarts above Tucson. There's only a few. There's only a few. And I'm going to give you the one that we think it is at the end. Okay? We believe that there's between one or two that the police should be checking at immediately. Look, you also have a Pilot Express between Eloy and Marana and Tucson open 24 hours on Highway 10. So you got Love's, right? You got Love's fuel stop, and then you have a Pilot Express. Okay, so you got the Love's, which is a 24-hour joint, and where you can wash your car and all of that, and then you have this Pilot Express between Eloy and Marana. So you got a couple of places where you can get fuel. Love's and the Pilot, they both need to be checked. This Pilot is open 24 hours. Look how expensive the fuel is. So somebody would have to spend some money if you got an SUV and going up the highway. And, we talked about the cameras on Highway 10, about what they do and what they don't do. But ladies and gentlemen, this Walmart right here, we think it needs to be checked out ASAP for that backpack. This place right here, 1741 East Florence Boulevard, is 8 minutes away from a gun shop on the same road. On the same road. FBI, FYI, 1741 East Florence Boulevard, this wall in Casa Grande. 1741 East Florence Boulevard in Casa Grande. It needs to be checked out ASAP Rocky. There's a gun shop called CG Tactical Firearms 8 minutes away on the same street that needs to be checked out ASAP. ASAP. There's only one other Walmart that we even think of that could be. It could be, but we're going to do that on another live. But this one right here seems to be like a hot spot because there's also a gun shop right there. So a man would like to, basically take care of two things at one time. I'm not going to use that other saying. The two birds, one stone, right there. Okay, right there. 1741 East Florence Boulevard. That Walmart needs to be checked for that Ozark trail backpack. That Ozark trail backpack, it needs to be checked out. And then you can come right out of there, and within 8 minutes on the same street, gun shop. Gun shop. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. There it is right there. CG Tactical. CG Tactical. CG Tactical Firearms right there. Same street. Same street. What are we doing? FBI, FYI, what are we doing? The first exit off I-10 from Catalina Foothills is exit 236, 20 to 25 miles to Marana Road. Exit 240, Twin Peaks Road, I-10 northbound to Eloy takes 30 to 40 minutes. You need to check exit 232, 226, and 219. Marana Road, Rampart Road, and of course, Pikachu's State Park. Needs to be checked out ASAP. Needs to be checked out ASAP. We believe that the fastest way to any point is what? The fastest way to any point is what, ladies and gentlemen? A straight line. Straight down 10. All these things are offered on Highway 10 from Tucson. Ladies and gentlemen, I need you guys to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Thumb up this video. Get it out there in the algorithm because these larger platforms are telling you nothing. You're getting nothing from these larger platforms. Get it out there, and let's see if these authorities can get a jump on these people who probably have gotten comfortable watching everybody run around in Tucson with their heads cut off, like chasing their tails and not getting up Highway 10 and looking at these exits. Somebody caught them somewhere because they didn't ride on Highway 10 with their lights out. Somewhere they got picked up. So, ladies and gentlemen, like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Until the next episode of the Scoreboard Keepers, I am your host, the Ref. We pray that Miss Guthrie is still with us and that she can be brought back to her family, and that these guys can be caught and can be apprehended, and the wheels of justice can take its course, and everything can turn out fine here. But we got to get a jump on this kind of stuff, man. And everybody got to get involved and chip in and give their perspective, and that's what we do. Everybody is innocent until proven guilty. We're not accusing anybody of anything. We're just going by what we see. And what we see is that it's just mighty funny that there's a lot going on between Casa Grande and Tucson that has some of the people that's close to the investigation around it. Normally with things like this, it shouldn't be anything around it. But unfortunately it is. The fastest way to any point is a straight line, and that's Highway 10. And there's some familiar names that are surrounded by that or around that area that shouldn't be. So like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Thumb up the video, and I'll see you guys on the next episode. God bless and peace.